Why hasn't Harris done what she's promising to do already? That's the question I'm hearing the most from Republicans and swing voters. And honestly, it's not surprising because guys like this are pushing the narrative, as you can see right down there. And then Donald Trump said it in the closing statement of the debate.
So she just started by saying she's going to do this, she's going to do that, she's going to do all these wonderful things. Why hasn't she done it?
And the truth is, Harris hasn't really provided a good answer, so I'm going to do it for her. In essence, I think this comes down to one simple fact. It's that most people don't know how the government works, so I'm going to explain it. So the first thing is the vice president doesn't have any actual federal power. They have two main responsibilities, and let's just look at the Constitution for what they are. The first one is down here in blue, which is pretty much if the president dies or can't be president anymore, they become president. The next is if there is a tie in the Senate, they break that tie because they're the president of the Senate. And that is something that Kamala Harris has done more than any vice president in history, and this will become important later in this video. But all of that is essentially irrelevant compared to how important the filibuster is to the situation. In essence, the filibuster is a rule in the Senate where you have to have 60 senators agree to actually vote on a bill. To pass a bill, you only need a simple majority, but to vote on a bill, you need 60 senators, and that is where the Republican Party has absolutely fucked over Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. And that's because 40 Republicans can say, fuck you, we're not going to vote on anything you want to try to pass because we don't like you. And that's exactly what's happened, and we're going to walk through all the details of it now. The Biden-Harris administration has been trying to put forward things that look like what Kamala Harris is presenting in her campaign, but they have been completely blocked by Republicans. Let's go through a few. The first one is the Build Back Better bill, which contains a lot of things that I bet when you hear them, you'll go, why the fuck don't I have this? This included 4 weeks of paid family leave, money for childcare, reduced prescription drug costs, and tax cuts for low and middle income people. But Republicans and Joe Manchin said, no, we're going to filibuster it. Then the voting rights bill was filibustered by this young man and his Republican colleagues, which would have not only enhanced voting rights for people, but it also would have limited the amount of influence that big donor money has in politics, which I think most of us can agree is a good idea. They said no. Then there was codifying the right to have an abortion at a federal level. That was also filibustered. Then Democrats wanted to raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour. Republicans said, get the fuck out of here, and filibustered it. And Democrats also wanted to work on immigration reform, which Republicans said, go fuck yourself, and filibustered it. And what is the result of all these phenomenal filibusters? We have one of the most unproductive Congresses in American history. In fact, if you'd like to look at our current one, look all the way to the right there. They're not doing much. But despite the filibuster, Biden and Harris have been able to get a lot of consequential things done. They managed to get past the infrastructure bill that was $1.2 trillion to invest in our roads and our bridges and our water pipes and our broadband access and everything possible to make this country come up to the modern era. Then there's the Inflation Reduction Act, which lowered inflation and made a big boom in clean manufacturing. Then there's the CHIPS and Science Act, which created a ton of jobs and innovation and made America the leader in chip production. Then there was the PAC Act that gave a bunch of money to veterans' healthcare. And the Safer Communities Act that did a number of things on gun control, including closing the gun show loophole, making schools safer, and investing more in mental health. So yeah, despite the filibuster, Biden and Harris have been able to get some very consequential things done. But the large scope that Kamala Harris wants to achieve, that Trump and Musk and Republicans are all complaining she's not able to do now, is not because she's not capable of getting things done. It's because of this fucking rule. So hopefully this answers the question of why Kamala Harris didn't already do all this stuff as vice president. A, vice presidents can't just do whatever they want. The president has the federal power, not them. And B, this has been an extraordinarily obstructionist Republican Congress that has utilized the filibuster more than ever to stop real progress from happening. Now, I think the critical question after all this becomes, how would Kamala Harris subvert this situation if she were elected president? And that has a very simple answer. This will be the end of the Donald Trump era in Republican politics if he loses. He will have lost 2 elections in a row, and he will be 82 the next time the cycle comes around, so Republicans are going to have to do some real soul-searching. And that is going to open the window for Kamala Harris as president to go, okay, well, you need to work with me more so we can find some common ground and get some of this shit done for America. Republicans will be searching for a new identity, and with Trump not the leader of their party anymore, they'll have an opportunity to get away from obstruction and actually try to work together with Democrats. As Biden and Harris have already shown, they know how to collaborate with very hostile collaborators. They've gotten a lot of things done with people who don't want them to get anything done. And yes, it's not all the things that Harris is presenting she wants to do, but it's a chunk of it. And if there is a different mentality in the Republican Party once Trump loses, she will have more ground to gain. So I know, this is a complicated narrative and it's not a simple one-sentence response to why didn't she do all these things already? But it's not a simple answer. There's a lot of levels to it and it's complicated. But in the end, Harris and Biden have done a solid job navigating the situation, and Harris will only have an easier situation if she defeats Donald Trump and sort of sends him packing to never come back.